started. Thank you for being here. Welcome to our Hearts in Medicine Story Slam. This is our second annual freestanding Story Slam. We've also been trying to incorporate some storytelling into some of our other conferences as well. We're here not to just share stories, but also to really honor the power of storytelling itself. And there's a couple people in the audience who participated in a story writing workshop about a month ago. We're here to really honor the power of storytelling too. We feel that storytelling is a power that reaches beyond our medical textbooks, beyond diagnostic criteria, beyond the latest scientific advancements. We're going to explore the profound ways in which stories shape the practice of medicine and enrich our understanding of health, healing, and human connection. In the world of medicine and medical education, we often talk about cases, procedures, outcomes, but behind each of these is a relationship. Behind these are people and a story. Every encounter brings with it a history, a family, relationship, culture, and a set of experiences that shapes the relationships and who they are and how they engage with their experiences. And it's through these stories that we truly understand the human experience of illness, recovery, and resilience. Storytelling is not only a way to communicate, it's also a meaningful way to connect. For healthcare team members, it's a tool for empathy, helping us better understand those we care for. It invites us to listen deeply, to see beyond the clinical symptoms, and to approach each patient as a whole person rather than just a condition to be treated. In medical education, stories teach us more than just the science. They teach us the art of care. It's truly a wonderful gift. They help us to learn how to be compassionate, how to be truly and fully present, and how to understand the beautiful and often poignant complexities of the human condition. As we hear our stories today, you'll hear stories of struggle, triumph, hope, and healing, and we invite you to reflect on the heart of medicine, because at its core, medicine is not about curing, it's about understanding, about connecting. We invite you to connect with your colleagues who will be bravely sharing their stories. Many of our storytellers, it's their first storytelling opportunity, and we're very excited for that. So let's open our hearts and minds to the stories that'll be shared today. These are stories that remind us of why we do what we do and how we continue to grow, not only as healthcare professionals, but also as human beings. So thank you again for being here, and hopefully you will enjoy our Hearts in Medicine Story Slam. And I am going to start this, and I will pass it over to John.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. I have a little quick, cute little story to tell you today. So now is the time. This is what I had been ruminating to myself over and over and over again. The summer before I started college at U of I, it's 2016. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to take over this 40,000 student campus. I'm a freshman. I'm going to be the president of every club. I'm going to get straight A's. Wherever I walk, people are going to be like, John! I'm going to take this campus over. And that's exactly what I thought until I'm now looking at the back of our empty 2001 silver Honda Odyssey. My parents are staring at me as like, you ready to go? And I have this heaviness in my chest. Heaviness of like, I think I'm about to start bawling in front of my parents, and I'm trying to not do that right now. But it seems like that's exactly what might happen. And so I'm stifling it all in because I'm realizing all of my life I'd been with them. They'd supported me. They'd gotten me through all of my schooling. Whenever I'm, procrastinating, they're like, "Poparike," which means go study in Malayalam. All of the most important commands that they have, they've been telling me my entire life. And now I'm realizing it's kind of now all on me. I have to be the one to cook for myself, to make sure I'm feeding myself, to make sure everything is clean. And I'm very scared. And so I'm trying to put on a brave face. the heaviness is in my chest. I'm like, I'm ready. I got this. You know me. I'll figure this out. So I walk back to my dorm room, and everything is pretty much put away already. I see my roommate, who is a high school friend of mine, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna go out and do some freshman year activities. You know, orientation. Everybody's getting to know each other." I'd come in a little bit late into that scenario of everybody had kind of already met each other, but I wanted to stay with my parents for just a little bit longer, so I didn't know anybody yet. And I was like, "Oh no, you go ahead. I'll join you later." So what I'm gonna do instead is I just said I have some other stuff to put away, but in actuality, I just wanted to open up my computer, watch Parks and Recreation, and hide in my little room because I was scared to face this new reality that I was living. And it was, and as soon as my roommate left for to go off into the activities, he closes that door, and then I'm bawling. There's fat drops that are turning to electric. I can't stop it. It's going over and over. I start a new episode. More tears keep coming, and this basically happens for a whole hour and a half. And my roommate comes back in and he's like, "You okay?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I am not okay right now." And then actually that vulnerability, and that actually ended up going a long way because my roommate, he's there to take care of me. He knows that he's actually going through the same thing, but he's also hiding it. He's not wanting to show it. And that vulnerability, that meant a lot to me. And so while I was still scared, now I was still feeling like I'd had all these expectations. Now is the time for me to fully be who I am. 1.5 hours away from Springfield, Illinois. I'm so far away from home, right? But my parents, they were going off to Europe for their 25th anniversary, and I was like, I can't be the rain on their parade right now. So, thinking to myself, I go off on for a walk the next day, trying to clear my head, trying to get back that attitude. Like, now is it where is that now is the time attitude? Like, I thought I was going to take this place by storm. And so sometimes what I do when I'm very stressed is I start listening to music, listen to Spotify, and I'm a big musical fan. So what comes up is from The Sound of Music, I Have Confidence in Me, sung by Julie Andrews. And this, you know what? I don't know what it is, but the world dropped me a very nice gift that day as I was walking around the U of I campus by myself. I'm gonna sing for you, sorry. Strength doesn't lie in numbers. Strength doesn't lie in wealth. Strength lies in nights of peaceful slumbers. When you wake up, wake up! That's my performance. I'm not doing that anymore. But basically, Julie Andrews is afraid because she's about to take care of all of the children. And she's like, why am I so scared of this? Like, there's no purpose or point to being scared because if you wake up, you go out and you try your best, you do something, you live that day to its full potential, to its full moment, you're not going to fail. Yes, things might go wrong, but you at least tried. You enjoyed that day. You did the best that you could. And that's what I was going to do. So the next day, I walk to the freshmen, there's all these organizations trying to be like, hey, come over here. We want to be part of it. I'm like, I'm going to go up to the first thing that interests me. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say yes. I'm not going to say no. I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to say yes. So there's an EMT booth. It's like, hey, I mean, an EMT was like, I'm interested in medicine. I want to go up to this room. And then he says, hey, you want to be an EMT? Yes, I do. I do want to be an EMT. And I don't know where it's going to take me, but we're going to figure it out. And 5 years later, okay, we are now in Carbondale, Illinois. I got my EMT's license, and now I'm about to start medical school. It is this summer. It's basically the same exact situation I was in at the start of college. We are orientating. I come in, I move into my apartment. I'm looking at the back of my Honda CRV. It's my own Honda CRV this time. And it's empty. I'm going up the stairs, and my roommate, Matt, he texted me, hey, we're all meeting up by the pool at the SIU Carbondale apartment complex. You should come over. There's some friends over there. What did I do this time? Okay, this time I actually went. This time I did not cry in my room. I thought about it, but this time I was going to change things. So I went over there, and what's the first thing that I see Matt talking to? Oh, that girl's kind of pretty. Oh, and Oh my gosh, she has a cool shirt on. What is this? It says arson on it. Oh, okay. So she's pretty cool. I talked to this girl, and all of a sudden my heart is pitter pattering, pitter pattering. It's like, oh, what am I gonna? Oh, this is not what I wanted. Okay, I came to medical school to learn. I came to medical school so that I could, as doctor, I could be kind of time a romance right. But wait, hold on a sec. What did I learn? Like, for the past 5 years is not that now. Where's that now is the time attitude? Oh, but is this okay? It's so soon. I literally just met this girl. I mean, did I spend the next 2 weeks basically finding any excuse that I have to talk to her, to go on runs with her, to wake up at 6 a.m. to go hiking with her? To invite her out with some other friends, with other friends who are in this audience right now, to be like, hey, you want to come and have dinner and with a group of people? So it's, not assuming that I'm just targeting you, but also I want you to see that that I'm a normal human being. Yeah, maybe I did do that. But it's 2 weeks in. We've just started doing classes. And I can't resist the feeling that's in my heart. Okay, I'd been telling myself, now is not the time. Now is not the time. We just started. But what's happening here? I told myself if there was something that I wanted to do, if there was something that was really pushing me, I was going to do it. I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to take those risks. I'm going to take those chances. And so we're walking back home. It's a Taco Tuesday. Oh, I'd done some of the I'd cooked all the tacos again, just to show that I can cook food. I can cook food for you for more often. And so we're back in our apartment. It's just the two of us. And I'm like, do I tell her? Do I tell her how I'm feeling? And I do. I word vomit all over that apartment, all my feelings for her. And honestly, I can't really remember what I said exactly. I don't think she remembers what I said exactly. But I do remember the gist of what she responds is, hey, she's more pragmatic than me. We just met. Let's give it a little bit more time before we get things going. Was I disappointed? Yes. But what did I remember? Every day I'm going to enjoy. Every day I'm going to keep doing the things that I feel like are right for me, the things that I think are going to make my life better. And so I keep doing it. I keep talking to her. We keep going on runs, keep inviting her for dinner, for movies. And 2 weeks later, all right, she agrees. She agrees. Okay, well, let's go out. Let's keep having fun. And here we are. We are now 3 years later. We're about to couples match. I'm going into Peach. She's going into Psych. And multiple times I think about what if I just kept saying, oh, maybe now is not the time. What could have happened? Maybe she could have found somebody else, and I would have missed my chance. And for the best thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. But I think now, that now is the time attitude's gotten me far. I can go through a day in the clinic or in the hospital and be like, I just need to get through my work. I just need to get through so I can go home and just not do anything for a little bit. But once I start thinking like that, then I don't enjoy the day anymore. It's not fun. I can't be with the patients. I can't be there in the moment with them. And this now is the time attitude's gotten me far. It's given me all the best things that I've ever had in my life. And yes, there are those days that I still have my autopilot on and I'm like, I really can't do today. But it's these moments, it's the days that I remember to take advantage of everything that I have, that the best times happen, the best moments happen, the best things happen, the best people happen in my life. And so that's what I hope to continue to do for the rest of my life. And I hope you will as well. Thank you very much.
That's going to be very hard to follow. All right, this is another cheesy love story. So we would all be seated around steel tables, 8 people at each one. Table number 10 was far away from the large windows, but that November morning, the sun was shining brightly over the entire cadaver room. Trying to understand the insertion of the supraspinatus muscle, I was squinting with my anatomy book called Cunningham in my hand, clumsily peering over the arm of a respected cadaver. I must have missed the sounds of neatly polished shoes that walked across the room and came right up to our table. A head peered over from the other side, right on top of mine, and a sibilant voice sent a shiver down my spine with the words, "What page are we on?" He was a transfer student, roll number 53. The first thing I remember was looking up into a set of kind eyes behind very sleek, silver-rimmed glasses. "Page 18, my friend whispered from behind me, struggling to keep her jaw from dropping. At that moment, all I saw was his neatly ironed blue shirt with checks, a neatly ironed trousers, and a beautifully knotted silk tie. And that supraspinatus became a distant worry. Who on earth wears this to a dissection hall? From that moment on, that transfer student with his deep voice and a bold sense of style became my best friend. Someone who I spent many hours with in the library every day. Someone who I had so many meals with. Someone who gave me so many rides on his cool 800cc bike. Someone who waited to bring me back to the dorm from the airport when I flew in late from my hometown after holidays. Even though our personalities were so different, our time together was marked by constant laughter and joy that we found in each other's company. When he came to decision to come to the United States, I was angry because my plan was to stay in my home country and serve the rural areas. So to make up for it, on my birthday, he gave me a heart-shaped golden ring, which did not fit. He confessed he picked it from one of his mother's collections and decided to give it to me. At dinner, he gave me a watch with a perfume called Eternity, asking me in his cheesy way to spend an eternity of time with him. How could I say no to that? 2 years later, we were married. Marriage brought me to Springfield. From a large city of New Delhi and some well-spent time in Baltimore, Maryland, I landed in Springfield, sitting in a small flight where even my head hit the roof, and I'm 5'5". I got off the plane and walked across to the airport baggage claim in a short 3 minutes. "Raj, where have you brought me? This was not my American dream. Where are we going to go from here?" Our lives were consumed by the hospital. Sometimes I would see him only in the elevator, exchanging quick glances and a smile as we got on with our respective teams. We continued to support each other throughout residency and beyond. The hardest part of our relationship was when we had our first daughter and we had to go our separate ways for fellowship. They say we dealt with the top 5 stressors: a new baby, a spouse moving or leaving, board exams, a new job, a new city, but we survived it. My husband would drive a total of 14 hours back and forth, sometimes on the same day, to come see us. One time, I had 4 challenging patients on the same day, all after 5 p.m., and I had no childcare that day. I cried in the bathroom and said a little prayer. As soon as I washed my face, my husband called and said, "I've picked up Arya from the babysitter. What time are you coming home?" As if it was intuition, he was there. He was there in the middle of the week. I still can't explain the miracle that day. I got home at 4 a.m., but my daughter was bathed, she was fed, and read to by the time I got back. Medical school, residency, and fellowship are stressful. People with opposite personalities and unique backgrounds come together as friends or partners. With the trauma bond from an examination that didn't go so well, wards, busy night calls, endless hours of studying, you find support from the most unexpected places. It's not at all easy. While you find your friends from other professions settling down, you have to put placeholders on many important events in your life, like marriage, kids, family, friends, travel, growth. Your life is just hospital and home. And the days you're off, you get a siesta, do laundry, vacuum, go to the grocery store, all that fun stuff, you know. But these things are what makes life. We're often caught up in the CVs, but life is more important than CV. We just don't realize it until later on. I'm quoting my 18-year-old's wisdom here. Reflecting on it, it's actually true. Practice of medicine changes us. We don't realize that as we act as healers to others, there's a major part of us that is spent. Self-care is therefore so important. I understood that at the age of 45. Eating on time, getting exercise, a massage, or hair appointments are all essential. As we grow old, my husband and I check on each other. Did you eat? Did you get your exercise today? We're both very competitive. So, okay, it becomes a competition sometimes, but that seems to work for us. We have both grown together in medicine and science. We don't talk shop at home, but we know that what connected us was that love and passion for caring for others. Couples in medicine, hearts in medicine. Remember, there will always be patients who need you, but the ones you need and the ones that value only you are your family. They have to come first. There's no compromise. So when people ask me, how did you meet your husband? I tell them, we met over a dead body, and proceed to tell them a real love story, which I have told so many times. Thank you for your attention.
Right. Well, I don't know. I don't have a love story. I'm sorry. But it's a different type. Okay, I'll take it. Well, I love a good story though, and I've enjoyed listening to the two that we've heard so far. But whenever I can tell one, I appreciate the opportunity. So I am grateful to be here to not only tell the story, but also to listen to all the other ones. First, let me start by saying this is not a story about me. It is a story about one of a group of people who put their hearts into what they do and have helped me or made it possible for me to put my heart into what I do. So there's a lot of hearts that get put into the medicine that we practice, but they're not always by the medical providers that see the patients directly. So here we go. I'll take you back in time to 2012. I arrived in Springfield with my young family of a 2.5-year-old girl and a 6-week-old baby. I was getting ready to start residency with my husband, who, also a physician, was getting ready to start his first job after residency as an attending. Our hopes were high. We had incredible faith in our ability, in retrospect, to tag team and parent these two under 5s, including a 6-week-old baby, while I pursued combined residency training in medicine and psychiatry. I don't know what we're thinking. We got away with that for a while, but it became apparent that a few different things were going to suffer as we devoted ourselves to loving and caring for our little ones and working full-time and training full-time. We realized quickly that we needed help from individuals who would put their hearts into what they do and what they did for our little ones on days that we could not do just that. I remember one of those days. In fact, it ended up being more than one day. It was a 5-day-long bout of severe diarrhea that my now 8-month-old baby was experiencing. It started suddenly, but very quickly became a vigorous multi-episode stool production whirlwind. As I left for work on one of those days, my heart was torn. I was a resident physician, slated to see 14 patients on an inpatient psychiatry service. And if I called in sick or with a sick child, a colleague of mine will have to learn 14 patients very quickly and do their best to provide care for them. It was something I wouldn't wish on a colleague, but at the same time, I had this little sweet boy pouring out diarrhea every couple hours or so. He needed to be rehydrated as fast as possible, and of note, I was still nursing him, so sometimes I was the only pacifier that he would want when he was irritable or ill. And my husband was also working that day. So we called on this young lady who I will never forget her name. It was Kelly. And her husband was a medical student here at SIU. We asked her to watch our little one. We explained to her that he was very sick with diarrhea, or not very sick, but a little bit sick with diarrhea. and we just needed a little extra TLC. She didn't have children of her own, but she was brave enough to sign up for the task and was aware enough of oral hydration therapy and how to change a diaper. Of note, the little one didn't have any fever, and we had ruled out some sinister possibilities and just knew we needed to rehydrate him, keep him comfortable, and eating. And she could escalate if she needed to. She had our phone numbers, and we were close to our phone. So I said that for those of you who almost got a heart attack right now, as you were wondering if we were neglecting a little boy in the hands of this young lady. She reassured us that she was up to the task, and we could tell from prior times that she had cared for him, that she was attentive and observant and seemed able to care for him. As I went to work with my heart torn in many different places, I hoped and prayed that things will go well and my little one will be doing better by the time I got home. It was a busy day full of many difficult but rewarding opportunities to care for people with severe mental illnesses on the psychiatric inpatient service. At the end of my day around 4 p.m. when I got back home, Kelly described how the day had gone to me. My little boy was looking a little tired, but happy and excited to have his mama back and snuggle and all the special things that we did together. Then Kelly started to describe to me what her ordeal was that day as she cared for him. She noted that his diarrhea had very quickly intensified in frequency, and she found herself changing diapers every 15 minutes to try to keep him dry. And then she would rush to wash her hands vigorously and make sure they were clean enough, and then hurry to feed him oral rehydration therapy solution that she had prepared for that purpose. Thankfully, he remained able to tolerate orally, and he drank the solution every time and just kept playing. He was happy. He stayed fever-free and, just fine throughout the day. Towards the end of the day, the diarrhea slowed down enough to give her hope that he was improving. She was borderline exhausted as she described her mind-reeling experience of how many diapers she had changed that day. She described her fear and concern about how much fluid he was losing and her frantic effort to keep up with the diarrheal episodes with the rehydration solution and keep her hands clean the whole time. She was thankful that he tolerated and appreciated it every single time, although to her bewilderment, she noted that she would see the very pink solution she had just given him pour out in the diaper literally minutes after she had given it to him. Thankfully, the whole time he was playing, he was happy, he was jolly, but she could tell that she had to keep up the hydration to keep him healthy and not to deteriorate. And she had to keep up the diaper changes so she could avoid, giving him a severe nappy rash or something like that. And she did it. And every time I think about that day, I fight tears of gratitude. And joy. Excuse me. For the devotion that she showed in caring for my little boy. She allowed me to stay focused at work at a time when the difficult decision between feeling like I was abandoning my post or leaving my colleague to see 14 very, mentally ill patients with whom they were not familiar, and staying at home to care for my little boy left me with no good alternative. Her willingness, her courage, her presence, her devotion, and care for my little one allowed me to put my heart into my work that day, knowing that my little sweetheart at home was well cared for and safe and comfortable and happy. I am eternally grateful for those who put their hearts into what they do and allow us to put our hearts into our work. Thank you.
Well, for those of you who are parents, you know that the decision to become a parent means that forever you're going to have your heart walking around outside of your body. So This is my love story. In the photo, I'm holding my son Ben, and my husband is holding our daughter Nora in the NICU. They were kind enough to put them in next to each other bassinets or incubators. So Ben, my beautiful firstborn son who loved Belle and Sebastian, died this morning. 99% of 28 weekers who make it to day 21 without neck go home. He was 31 days old. The resident in the hall apologizes profusely for crying in front of me. It's okay. It's okay. It's good to see you loved Ben too. Ben's death will never be okay, but it helps to know that he was loved by us and by the doctors. His attending cried because she couldn't be at his funeral. I cried when I realized that seeing me made her cry about Ben all over again. Somebody left me a fabric heart at his twins incubator, a grieving heart, they said. And Ben's bookshelf is his legacy. Ben made me a mother, even if I didn't get to do all the mothering that I wanted to do for him.
Hi everyone, I'm Matt. I wrote a short story about my journey to medicine. I was born in Istanbul, Turkey, where life for my family was a constant financial struggle. The challenges were so overwhelming that we were willing to leave behind everything we knew and loved in search of a better future in a new country. Since the 1990s, my dad had been applying for the US Green Card Lottery, a program that grants permanent residency to people from countries with low immigration rates. With millions of applicants each year and only a small number of spots, the odds of winning are incredibly slim, often less than 1%. Despite the odds, in 2006, my dad's persistence paid off. He won the Green Card Lottery, which opened the door for us to move to the United States. However, a major hurdle remained. None of us spoke English, and we had no idea how we would make a living. Determined to make this dream a reality, my dad came to America alone, working tirelessly to save enough money to bring us over. After months apart, my family and I packed out what little we could, leaving behind not only our home, but also the people who had shaped our lives. I still vividly remember standing at the airport, hugging my grandparents for what would unknowingly be the last time. Their frail hands held onto mine tightly, their eyes filled with pride and sorrow. They encouraged us to go, even though it meant we wouldn't be there to care for them as their health declined. Both of them would pass away from cancer before we ever had the chance to see them again. That moment, as we said goodbye, taught me the bittersweet reality of sacrifice, the cost of chasing opportunity when it means leaving loved ones behind. This is a feeling I know many of us in this room have endured as we pursued medicine, whether it was leaving family behind, missing milestones, or spending time apart from those we love. We've all made sacrifices in the hope of building something greater, not just for ourselves, but for the people we care about and the patients we'll serve. When we finally reunited with my dad in the US, we faced a new reality. Because of my family's limited language and education skills, our job opportunities were restricted. One of the first jobs I remember I was taking was cleaning doctors' offices. Late at night, after the patients and staff had gone home, we would scrub floors, empty trash cans, and wipe down desks. It wasn't glamorous, but it was our first step toward building a better life. In those quiet hours, I came to understand the healthcare system in a way I never could have imagined. Walking through the empty exam rooms, I thought about the lives that passed through during the day, the patients, the families, and the providers who worked to heal them. I realized that care doesn't rest solely on the shoulders of physicians. It's a collective effort from nurses providing comfort to technicians ensuring precision, to administrative staff maintaining order, and yes, even custodians like my family who created a clean, safe space for healing. Each role is essential, a thread in the larger fabric of care. Years later, as a medical student, I often think back to those moments. When I care for patients who face social and financial hardships, I see my family in them. I see the parents working multiple jobs to make ends meet, the children translating for their mothers, the fear and courage in their eyes as they navigate a complex system. Those experiences don't just inform the kind of doctor I want to be, they remind me of why I chose medicine in the first place. As physicians, we may not always have the power to change a diagnosis or guarantee an outcome, but we have the ability to offer hope, whether through a kind word, a compassionate ear, or simply by showing up when things are at their darkest. We give our patients something they can hold on to. Hope is what helps them find the strength to keep going, just as it did for my family when we needed it most. Medicine for me is more than treating illness. It's about seeing the humanity in each patient, just as I hope someone would have seen in my family during those years. It's about creating a space where everyone feels valued, heard, and cared for, no matter where they come from or what challenges they face. That is the heart of medicine, and it is what I carry with me every day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rajanbir Singh. I'm going to tell you my story. Roots of compassion from farm to medicine. Imagine a small village in northern part of India where life was simple and the rhythm of the day was set by land and animals. I grew up on a farm, surrounded by vast fields in a community that lived off the earth. My grandparents, who raised me, were the backbone of the village. They didn't just grow crops and raise animals, they healed people. The villagers would come to our house not only for food, but for medicine too. And my grandparents always helped, offering remedies made from herbs they grew right there in our own garden. There was no charge, no expectations of anything in return, just a deep sense of duty and compassion. As a child, I didn't fully understand the significance of what they were doing, but I knew they were always there for the people who needed them most. My grandmother's wisdom was like a lifeline for the community, something I didn't yet realize would shape my own future. At the age of 4, my parents left for the US to build a new life, leaving me temporarily in the care of my grandparents. I didn't mind. My word was just the farm, the animals, and the close-knit village. I called it home. I went to school in a small, humble classroom and loved my simple life. But as I got older, my education required me to leave the village and travel to the city. In our village, without transportation, I ride a horse cart to the nearest town, and from there I would take a bus for where I had to finish my studies after a 5th grade. I repeated that for years, and then in 2013 is when I moved to US after finishing my high school in India. I finally joined my parents in Indiana, in Midwest. The culture shock hit me hard. I didn't speak English well, didn't know how to navigate the city, and the food was completely unfamiliar. Not being able to speak any English, I started at community college, but my English was so basic so that I had to take beginner classes for English and maths. To make those ends meet, I got a job. The first job I got, because my aunt was working there, so she got me a job at Panda Express where I was cooking in the back, orange chicken, chow mein, fried rice. I still remember how much sugar we used to put in those sauces. So eventually, as I was also taking classes at a community college, my English improved, and I finally moved to the front where I was helping customers, and I was working on a drive-through as well. But as my English improved, but for a long time I felt lost. I had no clear direction for my life. None of my family members had gone to college, so I didn't have anybody to guide me. All my family were into businesses. They barely had finished high schools, and I was oldest of my siblings and cousins. Then during my second year of college, something happened that changed the course of my life. A friend of mine was pursuing dentistry, and she invited me to join her on a trip to Panama to volunteer alongside medical students and doctors This is back in 2015 or 2016. In Panama, I witnessed something incredibly powerful, the impact of medical care on people who had so little. Many of the patients couldn't afford medical care and had to choose between food or medicine. I saw people whose lives were transformed by the care they received, people whose smiles told the story of a second chance. I also realized for the first time that I was witnessing something I could do. I was moved in the ways I hadn't expected before. It was there in the heart of Panama that I knew I wanted to become a doctor. At the same time, back home when I returned, my great-grandmother from my mom's side, she fell ill in US. I became her primary caregiver, managing her doctor's appointment and medications. I saw her slowly get better and I realized just how fulfilling it was to be part of someone's healing. I started speaking with their doctors, asking them why they chose medicine, and their answers filled with passion further fueled my decision. Medicine wasn't just about knowledge, it was about making a difference in people's life in the most profound way. By the third year of my college, I knew I had found my path, my calling. I threw myself into studies, dedicating as many hours to learning. After all the years of uncertainty, I finally had a goal and a dream. I graduated from medical school, determined to continue this journey. Then came the pandemic. I had already planned to visit India because my grandparents lived there. So I returned to India and saw firsthand the strain on the healthcare system. We had a volunteer Sikh organization called Khalsa Aid. So I started volunteering with them. We were delivering ventilators, training people, and educating communities about disease prevention. The doctors I worked with were incredible, serving people from both rural and urban areas with passion and compassion. I realized that being a good physician wasn't just about knowing the science. It was about listening, understanding, and treating people with dignity. Today, I stand here as a second-year internal medicine resident. I look back at the journey that has brought me here, from a farm in India to a medical school, from a community college to internal medicine residency. I feel an immense sense of gratitude. My parents, my grandparents, and the village that raised me back in India, everyone who shaped me are proud of what I've become. I often return to my village, and when I do, people still come to me with health concerns, asking for advice. It feels so good to give back to the community that gave me everything. And as a doctor now, I try to carry the lessons I learned growing up about healthy food, exercise, and living a balanced life into my practice. I encourage my patients to make lifestyle changes, not just for treatment, but for prevention, because I believe prevention is just as powerful as treatment. This path wasn't easy. There were moments of uncertainty, times when I felt completely lost, but every experience, the farm, the trip to Panama, the volunteering during COVID, has led me to where I am today. And I know that I'm just beginning. I'm committed to learning, to growing, and most importantly, to helping others. My grandparents taught me the true value of compassion, that healing is just not about medicine, isn't just about medicine. It's about connecting with people. And that's what I carry with me every day as I walk this path. This is what keeps my heart in medicine. Thank you.
It was a milestone day, a momentous occasion. Our oldest son, Thomas, had just completed his kindergarten readiness evaluation. Now, I know parents are excited when their kids take big steps, but somehow this felt different. Thomas had been diagnosed with autism, but I knew how bright he was. He was so curious, so engaging. I knew his future was bright, and I was filled with that giddy, eager anticipation as I sat down at the principal's desk waiting for the results. Sitting across from me was the principal and the kindergarten teacher who had conducted the evaluation. I was bursting with pride, but they didn't seem to be as excited as I was. The principal started, "We've completed Thomas's kindergarten readiness evaluation, and we just want to let you know, we don't think he'll ever fit in." I blinked. Did I hear that right? I could feel the tears starting to well up, but I couldn't speak. All I could do was nod. The principal noticed. "Are you crying?" she asked. Somewhat surprised, I nodded again, the tears now streaming down my face. "What did I say that made you cry?" I could barely breathe. What did she mean he'll never fit in? My son, who was one of the brightest lights in my life, how could she say something like that? How could she dismiss his potential like that? I didn't know what to say. The meeting went on. They showed me the data to back up their findings, but all I could think was, how could anyone believe that about my son? This meeting was supposed to be about celebrating his future, not crushing it. When I went home, I shared everything with my husband. We were both heartbroken, devastated, and of course, we didn't send him to that school. We found another place, one where he got the supports that he needed and the care he deserved to allow him to thrive. For years after that, every time I saw Sister Principe at church, I couldn't shake it. I'll admit, I had some very unchristian feelings towards her. I couldn't bring myself to like her, and that bothered me. I pride myself on seeing the good in people, on being kind, and I couldn't let go of that anger. It was a really hard feeling to carry, and it stayed with me for years. So now let's move on to a second story. Picture this. A normally bubbly medical student frantically rushed into the room with a concerned look on her face. "Dr. Hingle, you need to come in here quick. The patient's not responding. I think she might be dead." As we entered the room, I reassured the medical student and I started checking the patient, Sister Joy, who was a longtime patient of mine. As I pulled out my stethoscope and was about to listen to her chest, Sister Joy's eyes suddenly popped open. "There you are," she said with a big smile. "I've been waiting for you." The medical student and I, along with Sister Joy's caregiver, burst into laughter. We had been so worried, but there she was, very much alive, in her usual feisty, cheerful self. She had been a patient of mine for years, initially healthy, only managing high blood pressure. She used to tell my medical students, residents, and nurses that I promised her that she would live to be 100 years old. And I would laugh and respond, "I would never make that promise to a patient, especially not to a nun. We all know that that's in God's hands, right?" During her 99th year, she developed congestive heart failure, and it didn't look like she'd make it to 100. But she did. She made it, and she invited me to her 100th birthday party, and we celebrated in style. That party was one of the highlights of my career. I wheeled her around in her wheelchair, and she proudly introduced me to all of her friends. And we continued working together through her health challenges. And she made it well beyond her 100th birthday, living another 2.5 years, almost 3. And every time I saw Sister Joy, she was a reminder of what resilience and grace really looked like. And she brought so much joy into my life. And I felt blessed to care for her. Here we have 2 seemingly unrelated stories. What's the link? Well, one day, something unexpected happened. I walked into the clinic room to see Sister Joy, and someone else was there too. Someone I hadn't seen in a long time. Sister Principe. Yes, that same principal who had told me my son would never fit in. But now she wasn't in a principal's office. She was in the clinic as Sister Joy's caregiver, coming in for appointments, always gentle, always kind, always attentive. She became Sister Joy's constant companion, and I began to see her in an entirely new light. I won't lie, it was jarring at first. The woman who had caused me so much pain was now caring for a person I held dear. And seeing the compassion she showed for Sister Joy helped me to do something I had struggled with for years: forgive her. I was able to realize that we all make mistakes, we all have our flaws, our moments of poor judgment, but that doesn't mean that we're incapable of more. And with that realization, I chose to forgive her, not for her, but for me. And that brought a sense of peace that I hadn't had in a long time. Sister Joy lived to be nearly 103 years old. When she passed away, Sister Principe came by my office to personally invite me to the funeral. She told me that Sister Joy had made her promise that I would be there, and who was I to let Sister Joy down? At the funeral, while I was looking at the board of family photos, I saw something entirely unexpected. There, right in the middle of the family photos, was a picture of me and Sister Joy at the 100th birthday party. We were both beaming, and it was clear from the photo that our bond was something special. Sister Principe was standing behind me as I stared at that photo, and she said softly, "You know, she loved you." And that's when the tears came. This time, not from sadness, but from joy. The same tears, but a very different emotional response. This time they were tears of healing. In healthcare, we face so many challenges, but we also experience so many blessings. Sometimes those blessings come in the form of patients like Sister Joy, who brighten our lives. Sometimes they come in the form of unexpected healing. In this case, the deep, meaningful relationship I had with Sister Joy unexpectedly helped me heal my anger, my pain, and my unresolved feelings towards Sister Principe. Now, when I see Sister Principe in church, I feel happiness and contentment. And I think that's one of the greatest privileges, finding peace and forgiveness where you least expect it. So those are our stories for tonight. We hope that you enjoyed them, got something from them, feel connected in different ways. And we have some refreshments across the hall in the Pearson Museum, and we'd love for you to join us for some food, community, and connection. So thank you for being here.